Hello everybody and welcome to Guerra and Guerra. This week on March 21st, we're going over our fifth case study, which is the legacy puzzle. Basically, estate planning for your future and protecting your loved ones. And in this case study, we have the Johnson's family, which has John at 55 years old and Mary at 52 years old. As Johnson has both a successful professional life and two children. Emily, who is 17, a high school senior with plans to attend college, and Ethan, who's currently a sophomore that's passionate about music and dreams of starting a band.
So we love bringing these case studies to you because this is bridging the gap. And that's what we're trying to do is understand, they say financial literacy is some of the hardest things to teach. And so in utilizing these case studies that are in our course, you can dive a little deeper on real world situations. So we're talking about the Johnson family here.
Yeah, the Johnson's families, they've worked hard to build a comfortable life, but they haven't given much thought for estate planning. And a recent health scare has prompted them to realize how important this is of preparing for unexpected and ensuring that their family's well-being will be secure for the future.
I totally agree. And unfortunately, it seems like it's certain times that happen in our life, like a scary event or a life-threatening event. Maybe it's a car accident or something of that nature that makes you stop and think twice on your plans, on what you're doing, on what your purpose is, because we get caught up in life sometimes, don't we?
Definitely.
Talk about some of the challenges and what questions might we have for students?
Well, first off, it's just understanding what is estate planning. What would you define estate planning as, for those who don't know?
Well, basically what we're looking at now is you've accumulated some kind of wealth, some kind of stuff, and you want that stuff to go to your heirs. So in this particular case, if you don't have a will, the state has one for you, and they're more than happy to send that stuff wherever it's designated. So it's good for you to have one so you could designate where you want your stuff to go.
All right, so yeah, that sounds pretty concrete for that. What about, so you basically went over a lot of what the key components of estate planning were?
Well, components, the will is very important, so you can say exactly how you want your final resting place to be, where it should be, how it should be, talking about the funeral and things of that nature. And then the trust itself is basically where you want to put your stuff to avoid probate for most of it. And that's kind of the main reason. You can talk with your attorneys and talk with healthcare professionals and basically say how you want your final time to go, and even direct things like if you're going to be in a coma, things of that nature, what your final last will and testament would be.
So talking about those final will and testaments, let's take John. The reason they're thinking about this is due to a recent health scare. What if that was from John? What if John's the person who definitely needs estate planning first? What would you say are some key things for John's estate plan?
Well, making sure that, all his documents are at least current and up to date. And then reviewing his insurance. Is he covered? If he's the main breadwinner of this household or business person, is he covered? And if his plan is to accumulate a certain amount, if his plan fails because he's not there, is there a secondary plan for that? And that's what life insurance can do.
All right, what about, let's see, guardianship and healthcare decisions? How would those quantify into estate planning? Where do those fall in line?
Well, it definitely would talk about, your children, if you have children, and if both husband and wife passed away, what would happen to the children? And you can ask, that's why they have what they call godparents. Those are typically the parents, from religious backgrounds that accept the responsibility. If something did happen to the parents, they would take the children and raise them as their own. So that's part of the guardianship and other healthcare decisions on, your last final time. Like I say, if you are incapacitated, it's good to have a power of attorney, but a durable power of attorney allows someone to act in the capacity if you don't have that same capacity to act on. Whereas a regular power of attorney only allows them to act in the capacity if you could.
All right. So that's where godparents come from, the guardianship, basically?
Yeah, it's a. I'm not sure if it stems from Catholic, but Catholics use it a lot.
Interesting. Continuing, what about, like, just, of course, the main tip, of course, is to seek professional guidance. Like our parent company, Primerica, offers a PLPP plan that primarily covers for estate planning, for and basically anything that requires legal or a lawyer, those type of dealings. Those plans typically provide the tools needed to get estate planning done, and probably also all this additionals.
Well, again, like financial literacy, they don't teach us this, so it's a good idea to seek professional help. Make sure you get the right documents for the right purpose. And there's a lot out there. And even as professionals ourselves, we are still seeing new products being created and hybrids for customers, like term insurance that has riders and different things on it. So it's very advantageous to look at that, and knowing your product, like why a tax deferred annuity is less advantageous than a Roth IRA. They both have tax advantages, but one can definitely beat the other depending on your situation. So it's a good idea to look at all those and get a good education on that kind of information.
And with that basic estate planning, how does that fall into anything that's happening currently? Any idea like how all these tariffs could potentially affect, or does any of this affect those?
Yes and no. I mean, right now that's affecting retirement plans, and so that's a big impact, but not necessarily the estate planning per se. But it's a good idea if you don't have your estate planning up to date to make sure it is, and it should be looked at, or at least reviewed annually, if not, a little sooner. So those are different areas to look at, and that's all I have for today's topic. Estate planning is definitely in our building a financial house. On one of the floors, you're going to be looking at drafting your will and trust, which is good to have. But then upper estate planning, for after you've accumulated that wealth and you make sure that can be passed down to your heirs, is the top floor.
So it seems like we've covered our topic relatively quickly for today's, considering all things. But estate planning is nothing too complicated, but it does have a lot of importance.
Definitely. So make sure you've got your documents in place, and estate planning, not for the fair at heart.
That will be all for this week of Guerra and Guerra.
And Bridging the Gap. We'll see you next week.